Touchdown, Westerly!
A chance for the Chargers, and they score!
In the front, Fuzzy again!
Good afternoon and welcome into Fiore Calls Game here on 321 Media, brought to you by CC O'Brien's. I am Andrew Fiore alongside Kyle Reel here, and we have a big special guest here today, Andy Gresh, the notable sports talk show host. He's worked with ESPN Radio, Mad Dog Radio, WEEI, WPRO, and the list goes on. Gresh, we are thrilled to have you here.
Thanks for the big joke right away, Andrew. I appreciate it. That's very nice of you. Very, very kind of you. Hello, gents. How you guys doing? There's a lot going on.
Yeah, a lot to get into here. I want to start off, though, mentioning for our listeners here that you are a Westerly guy. You graduated from Westerly High, and you're familiar with this area. And in the past, you've come on my URI show, but for our Westerly audience here, I mean, it's a reuniting of sorts.
Well, it's interesting because I asked you before we came on. I was like, where are you? And you sort of told me where everything is set up down there. And yeah, it was 2.5 years. I think I went to Westerly High School. I moved there in the middle of my sophomore year. And on day one, I do believe I got suspended for like 3 days because I shoved somebody in a locker. So I remember my old, I had a buddy from Hawaii who I grew up with in Western Pennsylvania. His family was Hawaiian. Dad came over, became a coal miner, all this. So my buddy Earl Chen, who's since passed away, and he said to me, he's like, brother, you got to set the tone the first day. So I took it to heart as like an aggravated 14-year-old that didn't want to move in the first place and handled it pretty poorly. But yeah, we won like a state championship down there in football. And I learned New England on the first Westerly High School bus ride I ever took, because who knew what a grinder was, let alone said by people in 1990 where to me it was grinder, and I was like, what the hell? I thought the coach's name was Baba, not Barber. So I think like Giant Baba, the wrestler from Japan, is the basketball coach in Westerly because everybody called him Baba. And I couldn't understand it, but got over that pretty quickly.
Well, I mean, Westerly here, you got to set the tone early on arrival, and you did just that. And we've got the Westerly football game streaming here on 321 Media too. So quick plug, all the sports.
Good. There you go. They're doing a nice job of keeping the tradition going.
Absolutely. And you played for URI football as well. And Kyle here works for the Rhodey football team. And tell us a little about your time there.
Well, it was pretty easy to just kind of slide up the road. And I was there for 4 years, and there was a coaching change while I was there. So that's never fun. Nobody ever loves that. But my assistant coaches were really good, and people that I'm still in contact with to this day. In fact, the guy who recruited me out of Westerly is the South Kingstown athletic director, Terry Lynch. And T. Lynch has been around forever. He's the only guy that I know that did it backwards. He got he became he was a quarterback, and then they moved him to like tight end, and then he got huge. Like back in the 80s, like that kind of huge. Like he just, it was insane. It was like, dude, where was that size on you whenever you were a fat quarterback and they moved you to tight end? But T. Lynch does the URI football games on the radio still with Steve McDonald, and Terry and I still kind of contact each other to this day. Text every once in a while. Happy Darren Rizzi got into the URI Hall of Fame. He was there when I first got there. Here's the thing you know about Riz. He was on a 1-10 football team and still made first team All-American.
Wow.
On a 1-10 team. That's how much that guy stood out at that level. And that was my freshman year. And then we had the good year the last year. And then that was kind of it for me. And it was right into the media, and then, covering the coach who once coached me, which was great and fun. I loved antagonizing him.
Yeah, he took the interim New Orleans Saints job, I believe.
Yeah, Riz did. That's right. So I played with Rizzy in 92, and then he had like a sniff with the Eagles and then got right into coaching as head coach at New Haven, head coach at URI for a year. He probably would have stayed at URI longer. It was just really bad timing from what I know of it. He got the offer to go to the Dolphins the year he got the URI job and didn't want to leave him high and dry, stayed for a season, which shows you the kind of person that he is, and then went to the NFL, and the rest is history. And him screaming on the sidelines are among the great. I'd love to text him about it. He was at the Darren. He was at the draft with Albert Breer, and they were drunkenly FaceTiming me at like 1:48 in the morning from Indianapolis. That's all you need to know about those two guys.
Yeah, the program is in great hands right now. Like as Andrew mentioned, I've been working with the team for the past couple years, and like this last season was a lot of fun to be a part of that. To see like a real, they make the playoffs, win, conference championship after some years of not really having any success. To do that, it was pretty cool to be a student there and also to be a little small part of it as an intern.
Yeah, and I think that when you're just a part of it at any level, and you get to see things from the inside out, the old belly of the beast, you learn differently. For me, I was on the Patriots radio network from 2005 to 2014, and when you're around the team and around access to different people, you hear different things, you see different things, different stuff kind of gets put into context. When you're getting ready to do an interview on the sidelines and Bill Belichick walks by and the person you're getting ready to interview says, looks at him and just is like, some people need to be reminded they're renters around here. That's the kind of stuff where it's like, oh, I didn't know that that's the way that person felt about that person. But it's those kinds of things that you learn, kind of the what is going on, the how things are really going down. And I think for, young media students, like when you're in the role where you are right now, it sort of reminds you to look at things with a little different perspective whenever you're on the outside and you're covering a team, like trying to figure out what is the real underlying issue? Because there's always the stuff that teams put out, and then there's the real story. So from that end, being around what is really happening versus what is getting out is kind of a good sort of backwards introduction into journalism and media, and how some stuff people either just get wrong or take out of context or just make up at this point.
Yeah, that's definitely like a great point. I totally have felt that way about being involved, and especially because I've actually been involved in a different capacity. Like I've always been interested in the journalism part, but since working with the team, I've gotten to do some recruiting and scouting type of stuff and like some little operational type of roles, and that you get a way bigger type of perspective on the whole thing, because you get to see how people interact in the film room or in the in the offices. It's a totally different thing as compared to just being a student or even just someone in the media who you ask the questions and there's the real stories going on, but I see it like every single day.
Well, a little bit of we could all watch football and we see what we see, and that would be our version of scouting, right?
Yeah.
But you got a little bit of a window into here's what to look for. Here are the traits that we want in our players, things like that, where you realize that there are different systems, there are different ways of doing things, and just doing the football stuff is fun. I mean, I swore from the very beginning that I would never put, a spouse or anyone like that through being a coach, because it's a pretty brutal life until you make it. And then you get riches, and then you pay off all your debts. You pray to God you don't get divorced and you got some money left over after the grind above like being a head coach. But being able to do some of the operational stuff and actually get hands-on. It's no different when you're an intern at a radio or a television station. If they let you shoot or edit something or sit in on a broadcast on radio or whatever in the world it is, it's the exact same thing. You're just learning different skills. And I think that for people who, I got my journalism degree and that's all I need, we're constantly learning. It's constantly evolving. So opportunities like that for a journalism student probably land a little differently than if it's somebody who just loves football, but they're going to get a business degree.
Yeah, we just had Taylor Begley on. We know her from New England Nation.
Yep.
And she was saying she was kind of jealous of us interns who get to kind of sit back and watch and soak everything in at those Celtics playoff games, for example, or at those meetings. You don't have as much of the responsibility yet, but you're still learning and you can really watch from the inside. So that's something I felt when I was at WPRI, and it's something I think Kyle's resonating with here with URI football.
Well, here's what's interesting. Back in the day, right? I first was on the radio in 1997. So if you look at the 90s and you look at the way that stuff was covered, it wasn't interns that were going with the news anchor who was lucky to get a shooter that night. It was the sports director went there with the main sports producers, which don't exist anymore. And they were doing live shots, before, during, and after, because you can get away with that. It wasn't, we're just sending the number 3 person up there on a Wednesday night because nobody wants to fight traffic. Interns never got to sniff that kind of stuff until they got into the business, or they were really lucky. And, this is kind of the business part of the business, unfortunately. But because of some of the, the budgetary's been ripped out, now kids like you are getting an opportunity to go up there, and it's like, holy Jesus. Like there's the whole pinch yourself, but you have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea where you're going. Your head's just on a swivel. And if anything, you're just listening to the people who brought you there because that's kind of your job. But, 30 years ago, it was never, ever like that. It would have been, Sam Knox up there with the sports producer that no longer exists in sports departments, with like the number 1 camera guy, and you would have been doing a whole bunch of live stuff. It's kind of amazing in just a really short amount of time. Like, look at the way the 2004 Red Sox championship was covered on TV, and then look at the way it was covered the last time they won the championship. And you realize it's like, wow, there used to be news crews out here. Now it's 3 people, and one of them might be an intern.
Yeah, I mean, that really puts it into perspective. It makes me feel lucky for my timing there.
No, no question. It's a great jumpstart for you guys. And this is more of the perspective as to where it's gone. Like 25 years ago, if you would have talked to a general manager in Providence Television in 2000 and mentioned to them about interns and stuff, well, I'll give you a quick, let me give you just one of the way it used to be, right? And back when this would have been 1996, which would have been like my 5th year of football. I got hurt. I didn't play. I approached Steve McDonald and then now the late Mark Caddick on, hey, listen, I played ball. I want to get into this. I know the team intimately. I could tell you the damn plays they're running. Why you put me on the sideline, even if it's just for home games? I don't care. I'm going to be here anyway, right? So Steve Mack ran it up the flagpole, and station management at that time was like, nah, we don't want to put a student on the air, right? Now students are going to Game 7 playoff games. So, yeah. And that's not, it's not like, Steve didn't do anything wrong. He was the one who brought it to him. But, when you think about it now, 35 some years ago, now the way the business has kind of turned a little bit, there are people that are getting quicker opportunities more than ever before.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great time for us, and URI's really bulked up their program too. Like we have, I'm going to be on ESPN Plus in 2 days. It's the
What are you calling for that? What sport are you doing?
Baseball. I'm on radio tomorrow, and then ESPN Plus play-by-play on Sunday. Oh yeah, they're tied with Dayton, so it's going to be a battle for first.
There we go. So, and even stuff like that, it's a digital production. How many cameras do you got? 3, maybe 4 at that?
They do 4.
Okay. And probably 2 or 3 of them are stationary. So they're there all the time. Yeah. Yep. It's funny because, when I used to do college football games for the CAA had a package of games that were on like Comcast Mid-Atlantic, Comcast New England, stuff like that. So I'd worked my way into kind of being like their guy. New England only produced 2 a year, and Mid-Atlantic would do, I think, like 6 or 7 of them. So I had a good 10-game package. I was kind of up and down the Northeast corridor. It was really easy to be able to get to and stuff like that. And those broadcasts from, let's say, 2013, 2014 on for a 4-year period went from having a full production truck to down to 6 cameras to down to 5 with a smaller production truck. And then now there are people that are doing broadcasts where they're pulling up in a van that would look like, somebody would hop out to do something nefarious, grab someone and run. But if you open the side door to those vans, there's 4 people in there, of an audio person, a producer, kind of a director, and then, maybe somebody to run replay. And they're in these vans that look like you're pulling up in a bank robbery. Whereas, 10 years ago, you had massive production trucks. However, what it's done is it's kind of changed the business for people to get opportunities, to get reps, to get heard. And, Andrew, to your point there, I mean, that's on ESPN Plus. Now, 6 people might watch it, but who cares? It doesn't matter. Yep. You're getting the reps. It's out there. And they'll house that thing there to where if you ever needed that audio or wanted to show somebody, or it was, hey, give me an example of your work, you can fire off that link and it's there and it's housed. And that's so there's the business has changed in kind of a belt tightening way, but all of the technology has now opened up a lot of opportunity for stuff that I know I didn't have around. When I was an intern at Fan in 96, I was, they would be like, yeah, maybe you get a weekend show by the time you're 30. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to be my plan, but okay. And, but it sets in because it's someone who's a program director in New York City. So market number 1, you think they know what they're talking about. And maybe I just defied the odds or whatever by getting in so early, but it wasn't like now where you're going to, when you're out of school, you're not going to have, something that you recorded off the radio at the student station that's on a cassette tape that sounds like crap. You're going to be able to edit and put together your own video of work that you've really done on reputable networks already to be able to get more paid work. And that's, I couldn't imagine what that would have been like for me in 1996 if those opportunities had been there. My selling point was I played ball. I was an athlete, so I'm structured. I'll be on time. I can be coached, That actually resonated with people. And now that actually resonates with people even more today than it did 30 years ago.
Yeah. I feel like it's an absolute blessing that I chose to go to URI because they have a great program for this, and they do put opportunities in front of you where you can get those reps and put together something, work of yourself that will help you later on. And I feel like I've been able to, I wouldn't have been able to have this opportunity to work with the team and maybe in the rest of my career have future opportunities like that without the being at this school in the sports media program. And I know a lot of people look at, or when I mentioned sports media that I'm in that, a lot of people look at that and be like, what are you, okay. But it's I would never go to school for something I didn't want to do. And I appreciate that there actually is a lot of opportunities. You just have to ask for them, look for them, and, put in the work to get them.
Yeah. You can't be shy.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't, you can't be a dink and you can't be a pest, but the one thing you can't be is shy. And that was one of the things that was kind of ingrained in me early on was be persistent, but don't become a pest to these people. Realize that, Mondays up to 2:00 are probably going to be a bleep show for a lot of managers, especially nowadays. So, if you reach out to someone on a Monday, try to time it up, be careful, get in the late afternoon. Don't be in it, 9, 10 on Monday morning in an email and just get lost through the rest of the day. It's a lot of learning corporate America and things like that. But, the digital age has now gotten to the point to where, yes, anybody can have a show on anywhere and sound like an idiot and maybe get no one to listen. But it's the path to prosperity. You get reps, you're on camera. If you build an audience, there is a way to monetize it now through YouTube and other places. So, the game is changing. I had a meeting today with a television company, and, a lot of the discussion is how do we get up to speed on the digital end? And it's tough because these companies say, hey, we have to start this, but we ain't got no money to start it. So you almost are looking at partnerships as much as anything else, which are not bad. It's no different than like YouTube. If you build it up and you get to the point to where you can start making money there, it's like being a partner with them. So regardless of how you get there, it's just find a way to get there. Now there's more competition than ever before because, Ham Hands Harry down the road at the barber shop, Andrew, has got his podcast that'll, be on at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night or whatever. So everybody can get one. But, from that end, there's more competition, but there's more ways to distribute than ever before.
Yeah, I mean, we've benefited from it, but let's get into some pro sports talk here too. Speaking of having a show and sounding like an idiot, I was watching some of your clips, and I want to get into the draft and the Celtics' chances.
Yeah.
And let's start with the draft here and the Patriots coaching direction. I know you were very critical of Gerard Mayo, as most people were. You couldn't throw a rock around here and find someone who didn't hate Gerard Mayo, but what are you seeing so far from Mike Vrabel that is resonating with you, and what would you like to see him do in terms of handling this draft?
Oh, cripes, it's an adult in the room, thank God, because Mayo wasn't one, right? So first and foremost, I think we can feel good that there's a real competent, trained professional who knows what they're doing and running this football team right now. I loved what they did, Andrew, in terms of getting the par. And what I mean is that when they kind of came out of free agency, if you look at the roster that they have right now, you can go on the field and be competitive, right? It's not a perfect roster, but he got it to the point to where, and this was Belichick almost every year. When you think of Bill and the continual run with Brady, yes, you were at times replacing guys, but on the whole, you had your football, you at least could put a football team on the field. Then you added your rookies and they maybe raised the tide for you a little bit in certain spots. I feel like that's what is happening going into this draft. Like, do they need a left tackle? You could say yes, but is it an absolute drop dead? They have no one that can compete their situation anymore. No, because if they had to put Moses over there, they could. And let's remember that Elliott Wolf was telling everybody Caden Wallace, who they drafted a right tackle, could play left. But think of this. Let's say Caden Wallace wins the right tackle job coming out of camp. Now all the resources you had to the right, you can then figure out on the left side if you had to. Now they're probably going to draft Campbell when it's all said and done. But from what I've been told, I think it's Hunter number one. If Hunter's on the board, they take him. They run up there quickly.
Well, you're saying the Patriots would take him if he's there?
Yeah, if he's
absolutely,
there,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's more of Hunter getting there.
Yeah,
but,
right.
But I think I think in the Patriots' mind, whether you're taking Will Campbell 4 or 8, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I think that's the dude that Vrabel likes the most, in my opinion.
Guys.
He wants ass kickers, and they want to build along the line of scrimmage. So I don't rule out the surprise of Mason Graham on the defensive side. It's interesting that Abdul Carter, people say he's a transcendent player, but yet there's still questions as to whether he's going to go in the top 5. Whereas
I don't know. I think the Giants would take him.
Whereas I'm sitting here pissed off that Gerard Mayo blew it in the last week of the regular season. Otherwise, we would have been talking about taking Travis Hunter with the number 1 pick in the draft and being giddily happy over it. Instead, he, put him in the spot to where now you're hoping that the guy falls. But I think Vrabel's going to build it on the line of scrimmage first. They're going to take their time with May. I think what they'll do with Drake May is what they did with Mac Jones in year 1, which ultimately give him a little more rope as you go and try to win with run game and defense. And you look at their schedule, they can get to 9 wins next year. Yeah, and you haven't bottomed out like you did last. The Belichick bottoming out was one thing. Last year's bottoming out was completely different. Because even with Bills bottoming out, you're competitive. And even if the game is 6-0, you don't feel like you're out there with a cartoon character. Whereas last year, it was like, this is a cartoon character of a head coach on the sideline trying to keep this thing together. And you just knew it was spiraling out of control by week 11.
Yeah, I get fired up when it comes to talking about the Patriots because that, like I mentioned before, growing up listening to people like you or just I'm from Massachusetts, diehard Patriots fan, and the draft is one of my favorite times of the year. Before it was a lot harder to enjoy because the Patriots were so good, but I'd rather have that than be picking in the top 4 or top 5 every year. And, anyways, though, Will Campbell, I like Will Campbell as a prospect. I think he's an elite athlete, but I just think I don't know how I feel about drafting him 4 overall because I'm worried that they're going to have to move him to guard. And I know everyone says that, but I do like his character, and I do think he's the kind of person that Vrabel would draft. I also would entertain the idea of trading down, to be honest, because I only think there's like 2 real blue chippers in this draft. I like Ashton Jeanty too, but not at 4, obviously. I just think that if you're not going to get the guy that you really, really want at 4, if you can trade down and get some value and still get a good player like Armand Membu from Mizzou, I think it is, another good tackle in the draft.
McMillan should be down there too.
I don't know how I feel about McMillan. Big-bodied receivers like that scare me, but I just think that think about trading down. I know that the Raiders, their left tackle, he was looking for an extension, and they're probably not going to get it. I'd entertain trade for him, and then see what else you can do at 4.
I think there's a few things to remember. Number one would be Mimbo is a right tackle.
Yeah, they'd have to move him.
So you're now projecting for 2 years in a row, we're going to draft a right tackle and they're going to play on the left side. Yeah, so that's why I think Membu is, for as good as he is, he's a top 10 player. He's not a perfect fit here. And that's where they have Campbell, who is the better fit. There are really only 2 true left tackles in this draft if you're really looking at it in terms of playing at a high level. One is Campbell, and the other one is Josh Connerly, the dude from Oregon. Yep. Now, here's another thing that I did on Sirius Radio the other night. The number 24 pick is actually of interest to me. It's Minnesota's pick. Minnesota has their first rounder. They have a late third rounder. They have like a 5th and a 7th. They have 4 picks, and most of them are not good. So somebody is going to trade back up into 24. And this is where we will really learn whether Will Campbell was the guy or not, because like I had 24 set that if Hunter fell to the Patriots, then they could trade back in and it's Connerly or something like that. If the Patriots do end up trading down, but ultimately maybe decide to move down, but with the second rounder come back up, they can meet the needs of both tackles or both offensive line spots that are open. They can also do it with defensive tackles as well. So I do wonder if the board maneuverability is really because they didn't love Will Campbell, or maybe someone bowls them over with an offer for Abdul Carter at number 4. And that wouldn't be New Orleans. That would probably be someone else. But maybe they don't move down if they love Will Campbell, they're just going to take him there and not worry about it, I guess is the rambling way to kind of say all of this. But I think Hunter is the number 1 guy. There was some hope that he would fall, but now it appears as if Cleveland's locked in.
You don't think they would take Carter at 4 if he was there?
No, I don't.
Really?
They're too loaded on defense for that.
I think they would take him. I mean, what makes you say they wouldn't?
Well, because the amount of
issues,
you can't play him inside is really what it is. If he were an inside linebacker, he has played some of those spots, but if you really look at the snap breakdown over 3 years, it's defensive end and outside linebacker the most, and that's where he's had the most impact. To me, the thing with Abdul Carter is, and I think Andrew nailed it, look at what they did in free agency. Combined with what they had, if you add Carter, yes, he's a great add and makes your defensive edge stronger. It doesn't make the interior of your defense stronger in the middle, which is where they need help. And when you look at Carter, it's the whole, where do you play him? And then who do you end up taking off the field given the way they spent their money? Now you can look at it and say, if he's that damn good, who cares who you're pulling off the field? But clearly they put together this front 7 with a plan for guys like Keon White and Harold Landry and the linebacker they brought is Spillane.
Yeah.
That guy was out of nowhere in my world. Like, I didn't even think of him, but clearly that's a guy. And I think when you look at Spillane at linebacker, I just don't know if Abdul Carter is really I don't know if he's destined to be Micah Parsons, where you put him as a second level player and run around and make plays. I just feel like the Patriots are uninterested in that maybe in this draft. I could be dead wrong.
With the amount of holes they have on offense, which are fewer than they were at the start of this free agency, it just wouldn't make sense to get another defensive asset when we know we have a lot of tools there, and you have the number 4 pick overall. There's so much you could do to improve the offense, even if it involves trading down. It just wouldn't make sense to use it on a defensive player unless his name is Travis Hunter and he's also helping you on offense.
Now, I'll tell you something real quick. If you look at the formula, you kind of described it a little bit. Veterans on defense that are going to get up to speed, right? You got a young quarterback, so you're okay there. Let's rebuild the O-line. But for everything they did in free agency that really was weighted towards the defense, I kind of expect that the draft will be weighted more towards the offense in that way.
100%.
Going younger with the draft, but they went with the older veterans defensively because that's how you can get up to speed and be respectable right away.
And in this NFL too, you can't afford to just throw all your eggs on defense anyway, because there's more penalties on defense. It's not the same as it was even 5 years ago. Now, the Patriots suffer from the poor quarterback class. This is one of the worst quarterback classes we've had in a while. Cam Ward's the only one that I'd really trust, but the Patriots suffer because you have like 2 QB needy teams right ahead of you that in an ideal draft scenario, they'd both be taking quarterbacks. Then you have Hunter ideally falling to you, but if you're Cleveland, you don't trust Shitter Sanders. You don't trust, I mean, Cam Ward maybe, but
well, here's another thing to think about too. If you're the New York Giants, are you really committed to Joe Shane and to Brian Daboll respectively? Because if you aren't, then you're not taking a young quarterback. You wouldn't let those guys draft someone at that important a position if you might punt them at the end of the year, which I think the Giants have set themselves up for a potential Chicago-New England situation. Maybe they do go with the young quarterback and decide to draft Sanders. They went and kicked the tires on him again on Wednesday. But are you, if you're an owner, are you letting that happen if you know those guys might be, have a step out the door at the end of the year? So I find the number 3 pick fascinating, because will John Mara ultimately do a David Tepper like in Carolina? No, this is who we're going to take, and you're going to listen to it. Because I don't think Joe Shane or Brian Daboll are in the position to really push back. But that's the real nexus point of the draft, unless Hunter falls to 3.
Yeah.
Then all bets are off, because it's almost as if the expectation is going to be number 2. No one's going to move up to Cleveland to trade to number 2, and Cleveland doesn't need draft picks. If you've seen their crop of them, my God, they're littered with draft picks this year. But if Travis Hunter somehow fell to number 3, the Giants would have the real tough decision of somebody wanting to make a move and grab Hunter, because knowing that New England would, versus the Giants drafting him themselves, which I think they would do.
It would make sense, especially after they just got Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. I mean, not that those are long-term options, but
neither might be Shadir Sanders. I have no faith that Sanders is going to be.
Sanders is going to be terrible.
Yeah, I'm not putting my faith in that kid. And
he's not dynamic at all.
And even with Cam Ward, I'm a little, I get it, the situation that Tennessee is in, and it's almost like you can talk yourself into it if you're them, but man, oh man, I go back to the player that Travis Hunter is. He's dynamic on both sides. Everybody is, and you know what? And you guys are, let's just round it, 25 to 30 years younger than me. And the way you just reacted is a part of the reason why I want Travis Hunter. I got a 23-year-old and soon to be 21-year-old in September. One loves football. One is kind of just sort of in and out on it. Both of them love Travis Hunter. There's a swag about that guy that drafting him, it connects to your younger fan base, which is why if New England just had one extra pick, they have an extra 3 and a 4. So they wanted to swap with the Giants, say Hunter fell. They could do it. It'd probably cost them a little bit more. If he falls to 3, I wouldn't be against swapping with the Giants one spot just to move up and get him. He's worth an extra pick over the course of a 5-year period to jump up and grab the Heisman winner.
Absolutely. I would have to agree. This is one of the most interesting drafts I can remember, but I do want to switch gears. I want to get into the Celtics a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I saw you talk on your show, The Gas Morning Drive, about your faith in the Oklahoma City Thunder and how you think it would be Celtics over Thunder in the finals.
Yeah. Here's what it is, Andrew. For me, Oklahoma City, they get to the finals, they'll be beat up, they'll be tested, and then they go against a team who has the ability to match up in the Celtics now. The Celtics have the ability to match up against everything Oklahoma City does well. Everything. And the experience factor. And I did cut you off and I apologize, but
you're good.
The experience factor, I looked this up in terms of Boston and Cleveland the other day. Donovan Mitchell's played 54 or 5 playoff games. Max Strus has played like 55 playoff games. Those are the most experienced members of the Cleveland Cavaliers roster. Al Horford's played 189 on his own. Peyton Pritchard has played in 58 playoff games. Peyton Pritchard has more playoff game experience than Strus and Mitchell, just in terms of games played, actually getting in and stuff like that. It isn't equitable, but you understand the point. And I do think that if you put the Celtics in Oklahoma City, they hit their head on the glass ceiling last year. They're going to hit it. They're going to hit their head on it this year. It's just going to be in the form of the Celtics in the finals because they're going to be able to match the length. They're going to be able to take away SGA on some level. And at worst, they're at least going to run 3 really good defenders at SGA. We were all worried about Luka last year. You know, there were times where Jaylen Brown put that dude in a box. And if he can do it to Luka, he can at least slow down SGA.
You hit the nail on the head there, and I was going to say this. I'm not even fully sold OKC is going to make the finals because of their inexperience. I think it's going to be a team like LA or like Denver that's been deeper in the playoffs before. I think OKC is going to get a ring in the next 3 years, but I don't think it's time yet because of that experience factor. But I also, and I've said this like every show now, I do not think there is a single team that can beat the Celtics in a 7-game series.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm with you. As long as they're upright and healthy and they've got the full complement, it's really Porzingis. Porzingis is the guy.
He's a game changer when he's out there. That
makes him magical. You could even lose Jaylen Brown. As long as you have everybody else and Porzingis is healthy, you're plenty fine. You can win in multiple ways. Even now, as long as Tatum doesn't go down. I mean, Tatum is as good as everybody thinks, and it's criminal that he just gets slept on when it comes to the MVP.
The aura.
The aura. I mean, it's, and you got Jokic now. Look, I mean, you got a big 7-foot guy who's worried about his horses, who is like,
doesn't care about the game at all. And all Tatum does is hoop and love basketball. Right. All he does is doesn't have any problems outside the media, and all for no reason the media just craps on him all the time.
Crazy.
Well, but the problem is Jokic. I don't care. I still get triple-double.
Like,
eat that Boston bully. Like, seriously, that's the crazy part is that you have every reason to be like, is Jokic really into this? And he averages a triple-double as a 7-foot slow fat.
Crazy.
Like, it should not happen.
I thought Denver until they just fired their head coach and GM with 5 games left to go.
Yeah, that was odd.
I think they could have won the West, and now it's, I mean, with an interim coach heading into the playoffs, I don't see it.
Golden State's path is there. The path for Golden State to at least get to a West final, and I think if they get to a West final, then all bets are off in many, many ways. But I just believe it. Locking in for Celtics Cavs at the worst, and I don't think the Celtics lose that series.
Nope.
And then we'll see who's there in the West. This is quickly the good thing about this side of the bracket. It's like it was like with the Patriots. Great. The NFC is double tough. Fine. I only have to care about one of those guys. I got to worry about the Eastern Conference first. And that's where the Celtics are right now. Worry about the Eastern Conference. knowing that in the West they're going to beat the hell out of each other, and whomever is left standing, fine, we'll worry about it then. Otherwise, I'm just going to enjoy the ride in the Western Conference because they're all going to beat the hell out of each other.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really comfortable position to be in. Unlike the Boston Bruins, can we get a quick thought on that train wreck that just went down?
I have 1 minute on the Bruins because I got to run, but I'll say this. Sometimes, Andrew, be careful of what you wish for. What has happened this year is the byproduct of 2 years ago, quote unquote, going for it when they put the band back together, had the great regular season, and then it fell apart in the first round because Bergeron got hurt. So we're now eating our turd sandwiches when we decided to put, all that great chicken Parmesan on the credit card a couple of years ago. And now we're getting it on the back end, and you combine a little bit of boobery and getting rid of the wrong coach. And, now you compound the problems more and more. Just know this, they're not going to spend their way out of it. Nope. So lower those expectations now. Bruins ain't going to spend their way out of it. They're going to try to draft their way out of it, and yikes.
Yeah, don't know how much lower those expectations can get, but our expectations for this show were very high, and you lived up. Thank you so much, Gresh, for coming on. Always a fun time.
Brother, I'm amazed at all your sponsors on the bottom, for crying out loud. Like the people who run Pooch's Pourhouse, I think went to high school with me, I'm pretty sure. Or I was in that whole time zone. This is very impressive down here. You going door to door?
Most of those are my boss, but I have been doing a little door-to-door. Got CC O'Brien's on the bottom screen there.
There we go. All right,
I've got a few of these, but most of these are my boss.
Very good.
One's doing great stuff here.
Gresh, I just want to say thank you, though, personally, just because I have listened to you a lot, and it's great to be able to talk to you and have you on our show. Man.
Listen, guys, anytime, you know it. Andrew is one of my favorites, and his dad and all those 11 Fiore brothers that he's got running around as well. I know it's not that many, but I bust your old man's chops because he's got a 6-year-old. So how old's your younger brother now?
He's up to 10 now.
Oh, he's 10.
Old enough to follow sports now. He's wearing his Tatum jersey on the way out. So.
Good. And he's old enough to help Pops with that Social Security check as well.
Absolutely.
I got big respect for your dad, and he knows it, and I'm busted chops. And I appreciate you guys. Thanks a bunch. I got to run, and I'll talk to you all soon. And keep on keeping on, boys.
Thanks, Gresh.
Thank you.
Well, that was Andy Gresh. Phenomenal show. We will be back after this quick break with more on Fiore Calls Game, brought to you by CC O'Brien's.
Experience local excellence with Roof Right Roofing in Charlestown, Rhode Island. With over 40 years of unmatched expertise, Roof Right specializes in architect. Do you want to get your business in front of over 100,000 viewers every month? Experience local excellence with Roof Right Roofing in Charlestown, Rhode Island. With over 40 years of unmatched expertise, Roof Right specializes in architectural shingles and holds the prestigious title of GAF Master Elite Installers. Known for their commitment to the community and support for local initiatives, Roof Right is your trusted partner for all of your home's roofing needs. Call today for a free estimate at 401-212-4140.
Hi, this is Dan from Lathrop Insurance. In this challenging insurance environment, Lathrop Insurance can be your beacon in the storm to help you find the coverage you need at the right price. Now, more than ever, you need a partner in the insurance industry that can work with multiple carriers to make sure you have the right coverage at the right price. Lathrop Insurance carries home, auto, and business insurance and can be reached at 401-596-2525. We've been supporting the local community since 1939. And we look forward to working with you.
What's going on, everybody? It's Patrick down here at the Wireless Zone at Dunn's Corners at 224 Post Road, and everybody down here is getting the brand new iPhone 16. We have it here in stock. The best part is right now, if you trade in your old phone, you get it for free. We got deals all weekend, awesome savings. Come on down and see us, 224 Post Road, Dunn's Corners, Verizon Wireless Zone. We'll see you soon.
D&V Mechanical specializes in the installation, maintenance, and servicing of Mitsubishi ductless mini-split heat pump systems. We are certified by Mitsubishi as Diamond Elite Contractors and factory trained and up to date on the proper procedure of the installation and service of Mitsubishi ductless heating and air conditioning ductless heat pumps. We assist with the paperwork to reduce much of the stress-related documentation required to get the state rebates and federal tax incentives. We are not a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-nothing company. We are masters of ductless heat pumps. It's what we do, and it's what we know.
Welcome back to Fiore Calls Game, brought to you by CC O'Brien's. We just wrapped up with Andy Gresh, a phenomenal guest to have here. I had been listening to him since he was here in Rhode Island on WPRO, and he was the Rhode Island sports guy. And ever since I started calling in that show, him and I connected, and it's always great having him on.
Yeah, it was really cool. That was awesome for me just because, like, I mentioned it on the show a couple times, but he's one of the guys who was, like, a voice that I would always hear on the radio, and I would, like, think about him when I think about the Patriots, you know what I mean? Like, he's one of those voices I associate with the Patriots, and that's why it was great to be able to, like, pick his brain about some of that stuff, talk about the draft and just the Patriots, the state of the Patriots in general. Really cool. It was a awesome experience to be able to have him on here.
And those 45 minutes felt like 10 minutes. It's
I know,
really crazy. But he does a lot. We can go into more of his accolades for a minute here because we wanted to just get right into things. He interned at Mike and the Mad Dog on WFAN. He mentioned that briefly after talking about his time at URI football. He had been at the Super Bowl like Radio Row for years. He wrote a book of top 10 lists in Boston sports history.
I gotta pick that up.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's a little dated. I remember I had him on my URI show, and I asked him what he would change about certain lists. And Brady slides up a few spots on the all-time.
Oh, is it top 10?
It's all top 10.
We
Every
should
page
do
is a
our
new
own
one.
top 10.
We
Boston
should.
Sports athletes.
It's the whole book is different top 10s in Boston sports
that's
history.
awesome.
It's so sick. He was the host of the Gresham Fourier show on WEEI until they recently put a stop to that, and then of course the ratings declined after that. It's crazy to me the way that whole thing went down, but Gresh is still killing it. Being candid here, I think they made a big mistake there, but he's still been killing it out there. He has the Gas Morning Drive. He's on Sirius XM regularly and ESPN radio talking all things the draft, NBA, MLB. We didn't even get to the Red Sox during that talk.
Yeah.
He does wrestling too, WWE. I know you and Khan love that stuff.
Yep.
Shout out to Brandon Khan. Wish he could be here. But yeah, the fantastic 45 minutes with Gresh, and he always lives up to the hype.
Yeah, that was awesome. That also just brings us to, I mean, the fact that the draft is upcoming and being able to hear his takes on that, like they were super well thought out. You can tell he's been talking about this a lot with people recently. I'm sure it's a big thing when your team is as terrible as the Patriots were last year. You got to look forward to a 4th overall pick, but like he said, dude, winning that game was so unnecessary. I know you were there. I know you were there.
I was like, do I say that?
Oh my
God.
God.
Sounds stupid. And
yeah.
I almost did if we had more time, but like, here's the thing, Gresh. I would argue we had to win that game. Why? Because I was there.
Yeah.
I wanted to see them win when I paid $68 for tickets.
See Joe Milton III go crazy against the Bills.
Yeah, worth it. But no, all right. Objectively, no, we should have lost that game for Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
I love Travis Hunter, dude.
Yeah, I love that point that he made about his kids, like even them being like, how our reaction to when you talk about Travis Hunter, because he just is that good. Like he's, oh my God. The tape, everything about it. Just go watch him. He can be a stud.
People that say he's not that good at receiver. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I'd say he's a better receiver than he is a cornerback.
It's crazy.
That's why I want the Patriots to draft him so bad, because I would love. Can you imagine Stephon Diggs and Travis Hunter wide receiver duo?
I hate myself for saying this so much, but it'd be like having Ohtani.
That's not ridiculous to say.
No, I don't think it's ridiculous. I just hate myself for saying it because I sound like the MLB Twitter admin.
Or Ben Verlander.
Shohei Ohtani, the greatest day. Yeah. That have you seen on Twitter? They've been digging into the MLB main Twitter admin. Like the Washington Nationals was so funny, dude. They posted, for those of you who haven't seen it, I wish we could figure out how to pull up like different tabs. They have the MLB tweets of, like, for example, they I guess the Dodgers played the Rockies the other night, and Ohtani hit a solo shot. They posted 4 different videos from different angles, and then later one of the Rockies hit a grand slam, and they just posted like a quick video that was interrupted by an ad. So like MLB has been glazing, for lack of a better word, Ohtani.
Yeah.
Promote, and it's like MLB. I'm kind of going on a tangent here. MLB got slack for years about how poorly they market their stars, and now they're trying really hard to do it, but it's so forced and it's so like uncomfortable that it backfires. But you're seeing that for Ohtani. They're just like, anytime Ohtani does something, it's like 20 tweets, 30 Instagram posts, all caps, and then like another team will do something, it'll get ignored. And the Nationals on Twitter put under one of the Ohtani clips, hey, post our Dylan Cruz single that like gave them the lead in the same game or something. And other teams have been chiming in at MLB like, hey, MLB, why don't you post this? We've seen the Ohtani thing like 5 times in a row.
Yeah, like, I mean, obviously the MLB wants to market its biggest, arguably its biggest star, but I do think, yeah, I agree. You see it everywhere. And I hate to say this as a Red Sox fan, but I feel like I haven't seen enough about how good Aaron Judge is playing right now. Because I was out getting some food yesterday, and they have a bunch of TVs out there, and they were just showing Aaron Judge statistics through 18 games so far. Have you seen him? Dude,
not recently.
He's slugging 800. He's batting 4 something. He has 7 homers and 21 RBIs in 18 games. He literally, and his on base is 500. He's like, literally looks like it's video game stats. It's ridiculous. And I hate the Yankees, but I
never got the Judge hate.
I don't I don't hate him at all. He's a great guy.
No, I know,
He's a great
like,
dude.
I'll make fun of him for the defense and for that drop in the 5th inning, but the people were like, he's not even that good of a hitter. I've seen that take. That's such a crazy take.
In his last like 162 games combined, like a full season, I think I saw it was like 62 home runs, 159 RBIs, batting like 330 or something. It's like nuts. That is insane.
You know who he is? He's like Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Injury ridden early on, and then once he's healthy, just like unreal,
otherworldly.
Yeah.
Because I think he's the best offensive player since. Who else is doing what he's doing? You know what I mean? He's got to be the best offensive player since like Barry Bonds, probably. I mean, you have to call. He's the numbers. I'm talking about that. You still have to take that into account.
I'm not a Bond guy.
I'm not saying I'm just making. I'm saying like.
No, I get it.
Then like, I don't know, Manny Ramirez or something, or Alex Rodriguez, all guys who have been named
steroids.
Yeah.
But I had a take with that about Judge. Oh yeah. The one thing against Judge though is his performance in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's all. He's terrible in the playoffs.
Yep. Hopefully he can play good for Team USA, because we lost to Japan, man. Come on. I mean, Japan's great, but America, this is our sport. We should win the World Baseball Classic, right?
Which brings us back to Ohtani. Another take I just blanked on there for a second. With the MLB marketing, it's stars and Ohtani in particular. But it's like, it's so forced with the way they do it. I don't know like what to quantify that they could do better in terms of like marketing their biggest superstars, how NFL and NBA do it. But whatever this isn't working.
Yeah, the NBA has the biggest advantage when it comes to any of that, obviously, because it's just such a superstar-driven league. But
it has its drawbacks, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, of course, but the people who love the NBA, they always tune into it, and that's the same with like people who watch baseball. You really don't have to like baseball. It's harder to get new fans, I feel like, for baseball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People who watch baseball have been probably watching baseball their whole lives. You know what I mean? And watching it like consistently. I've always been an on and off baseball watcher just because the seasons are so long, but that's how it is for a lot of those sports, except for like there's people in the NBA, like you can get introduced to the NBA easier than the MLB, because the NBA, it's like, oh, you see someone like Luka Doncic and they might make you fall in love with the NBA. You know what I mean? You watch something like that. It's a lot easier to identify the sport with a singular player than it is like with MLB, because again, there's so many games, there's so many players, there's pitchers, all this other type of stuff. So it's I think it's a lot harder, and that's why they push Ohtani so hard, because he's kind of transcendent in the way that like LeBron James is, or one of those, or Tom Brady, those type of things, except he has a global outreach because of the gigantic audience of baseball fans already in Japan. And then to get somebody like Ohtani, it's like that's a gold mine for the MLB.
Oh yeah, he is a fantastic player. It's just the way it's like they do it in a really corny fashion. It's the 3 batters away thing is terrible. On the Fox broadcast during the playoffs when they had the little
oh my
graphic,
god,
it was
yeah,
so bad.
dude,
Like
on the
7
memes that came up after that were funny too.
So
That was
funny.
great. What is
But yeah, I mean, baseball. There's a lot of guys that are balling out of their minds in baseball right now. Some of the stars have been slower. Soto's gotten a lot of hate early on, and I think it's really not forced, but it's really reactive. I don't know if you saw this, but Soto said to the New York Post, he's getting pitched to differently because the best hitter in baseball isn't behind him anymore.
Which might make
Objective fact, Aaron Judge,
Yeah.
or like you can make an argument for Ohtani. I think Ohtani's probably the best player in baseball.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, not probably.
I think
is.
he's the best baseball player to ever walk the planet, in my opinion.
Really?
I think he's the best base because nobody has done that. What he is capable of doing when he's fully healthy, nobody can do.
It's crazy. Yeah,
like
it really
Babe
is.
Ruth. I'm sorry, I never bring that up to me because that was in like 1913, dude. He was playing against guys who had to go work at like the factory after their game. Like, I'm sorry, it's not to disrespect the greats because this is a whole nother conversation just when it comes to like comparing eras. But I feel like baseball is one of the ones where it's really easy to be like, yeah, like Ohtani. Can you imagine Ohtani playing it back then? Like, he'd literally send those baseballs into another state. Like, and if he had to pitch against these guys, can you imagine one of these guys going out there and trying to hit an Ohtani fastball? Like, no, it would never happen. But anyways, it's not really the point. I just think that Shohei Ohtani, what he does is it's different than anybody
unreal.
else.
I don't like him, but it's unreal.
Why do you not like him? Just because the force thing, or
no? I used to like him. No, I really did. I used to like him when he was on the Angels. Didn't like the deferred money thing. The gambling thing is really what.
But he didn't have anything like literally. That was the guy who just took the money out of his bank account. Like, he literally had not. That you can look it up.
Oh
though.
no, I saw that. It's just a little fishy. I
just don't think a guy like that would need to gamble. Like, I really don't think he would need.
It's not a need. It's some people just.
I just that one I don't really, because he barely speaks English. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he speaks English, but I don't think it's. I don't know. It's a totally different conversation. I just think. I think Ohtani hasn't done anything really wrong in the media. Like, I like him. I think if anything, for a reason not to like him is because he gets absolutely pushed down everybody's throats so much. Like, I understand that.
That one, yeah, that's a big reason too. And also, I'm still salty over the NLCS.
That too, and also, like, I would understand because he joined the Dodgers, and it's like, okay, dude. Like,
yeah,
Dodgers.
I liked him better when he was on the Angels.
I have an Angels Ohtani jersey.
Really?
Yeah.
That's sick.
I also, well, you would hate this, but I have a Ronald Acuna Jr. jersey too, a Braves jersey.
See, I get
they're
why
so
that's
cool
sick,
though.
Like,
the Navy ones, they're so nice, dude. The Braves jerseys are so cool. I
love how bad.
I would rock a Mets jersey. Mets jerseys are awesome, dude.
I've got
a Bartolo Colon jersey. Where can I find one of those?
I got my blue Pete Alonso one I've worn in here a few times. I got my pinstripe Soto one.
Oh yeah, you bought that immediately.
But yeah, so Soto said, I don't have the best hitter in baseball hitting behind me anymore, so they're pitching me different. I'm not getting the same pitches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's fair. They took it and said, Soto uncomfortable with playing the Mets. Soto disses Alonso. So it's like, oh, okay.
New York media.
Most Mets fans, like, if that's going to anger anyone, that's going to anger Mets fans. Guess how most Mets fans reacted? Did not care.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, you don't have Judge behind you. They're pitching you different. Yep, that's true. Alonso's benefited from it a lot. Not to discredit Alonso at all, but Alonso also, the biggest thing that has changed Alonso's game has been the pitches he's taking. If you watch his at-bats, last year, he was swinging at everything down and away. And now you paint the corners and he won't even flinch. He's gotten such a good batter's eye. It's like every at bat looks like that Brewers home run at bat now, and it's unlocked a whole different mode for him, and he has been on another planet to start. So Soto gets on base. He's been getting on base despite the low average, and then Alonso drives him in. It's working perfect. Soto will heat up. I think those numbers will look better. He's adjusting to the new team. It's cold out. It's early. Whatever. I think people are overreacting. His stats aren't even that bad if you really look into them beyond average.
Yeah.
Like I think his OPS was like around 800.
Yeah, that's like
Like,
average.
He's not. Yeah,
That's like average. That's
And
like
it's-
above average, like a little bit above
yeah,
average.
for mid-April too. Like, and with the amount of runs he scored because Alonso's been dealing, and he's giving Alonso better pitches. So like, it's whatever, you know. And he's gonna heat up this summer. I'm convinced. But people are like, oh, he misses the Yankees. Oh, he's not happy there. Oh, this was a mistake. It's like, guys, it's April 18th.
Yeah, that's the other, like, Red Sox fans we're already burning the stadium down damn near because like everything looks bad already. It's like
Well, 2 weeks ago, you guys were raising the AL pennant. It was crazy.
yeah, I know. We
was-
won the AL pennant 2 weeks ago.
The amount of friends I had saying like the Red Sox are going to win the AL. It's definitive. I'm like, I still think the Rangers, but okay. You know, I like the Red Sox, but
I have faith in the Red Sox. But the bullpen,
I think they'll make the
the
playoffs.
bullpen has been nails. Like Aroldis Chapman has been good, and he's been good for some reason.
The mama's boy, yeah.
Yeah, oh gosh, we're not gonna do
Yeah,
that. But yeah,
yeah.
he's been really good, and luckily Liam Hendricks is getting healthy, and I think that if he can give you something, that'll be great too. So like, they've already been really good. They had a shutout win. I don't know, was it last night or the night before? They shut out the Rays 1-0. So pitching has been good, but hitting has been super inconsistent. And even then, like the starting pitching hasn't been consistent. The bullpen has. But Tanner Houck, get that man off my team immediately. I swear to God.
That's the weird thing about the Mets. Our pitching has actually been our strength, which I was very concerned with our pitching heading into the season. I thought it was going to be a nightmare. It's been phenomenal. Have you seen the Mets are like top of the ranks in like every ERA category? It's crazy,
Yeah, I haven't
especially
seen
our bullpen. It's just the Mets pitcher development has changed. Jeremy Hefner, our pitching coach, has done a phenomenal job taking these nobodies and like Griffin Canning of all people, who most Mets fans were furious when we signed him. It was this Angels guy who like led the league in home runs allowed out of the bullpen. We were just like, yeah, he's our starter now. We're like, great. And no, he's been fantastic because of our coach. Our pitching coach is tremendous. He did this last year too with like Jose Quintana and all those guys and Luis Severino. And now he's taking like Griffin Canning, Clay Holmes, all those guys and making them studs, and it's working. And if you told me that our pitching would be our strength this early, I would be surprised.
Yeah.
But the Red Sox, I think the Red Sox will figure it out.
I do too.
I don't think they're going to win the AL. I think the Rangers will.
I mean, I would hope though. You know, I'm not gonna sit out here and say that I think that's gonna happen. I hope so. That'd be cool. Have another thing to look forward to, I guess, because the Celtics are gonna win the title. So that'll be fun.
What do you so I've been going on to the Celtics. I feel like this year, and actually most years really, I follow the Celtics but have like a loose grasp on the rest of the league.
That's how I feel too. I have
Yeah.
I follow along with the rest of the league, but I'm a Celtics fan first, and I just like
I don't sit and watch.
no, I don't
other
want to
NBA
watch. Yeah, you
games.
think I want to watch like
Unless it's playoffs.
yeah, but most of the time I just watch the Celtics, and
Yeah.
that's why sometimes I do feel like a non-ball knower because someone will
Same.
bring something up like, oh, this player's been killing it this season. I'm
Like,
like,
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know who that is. And it's like, yeah, it shows that I'm kind of ignorant, but I just like the Celtics, especially being as good as they are, you know what I mean? It's so hard to even want to focus on anything else. It's like I'd rather watch my own team every single time.
Yeah.
And dude, there's obviously as a fan of any team that's been in the playoffs, but for some reason like the Celtics playoff games, they just hit different. They like I feel like you know what I mean? Like I get so nervous during them, and I love that.
It was
feeling,
kind
you know
of
what I mean?
weird, last year though.
Yeah, because they just beat everybody, but like
The building felt different in that second round. It was because I went to 2 first round, 2 second rounds. People like it was almost a little like deader, not dead.
it gets corporate, dude. There's a lot more people who have way more money and they don't have the energy. They don't have the real fans in there who are, had a couple drinks in them and they're way more rowdy. That's why like Fenway Park in the playoffs is
Oh my
one of the
gosh.
like It
was
is
unreal.
unbelievably
It was
loud.
unreal.
When I was there during the playoffs, like we went to the same series, but like that
The Red Sox Rays.
Yeah, was it the same game we went to?
I was at game 3.
Oh, I was at the one when Vasquez walked it off. but-
That's game 3.
yeah, so we were
Except
there.
I had to leave early.
It was. Oh yeah, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
But dude, it was so loud, and
it was
everyone knows.
awesome.
Everyone knows Fenway doesn't fit that. It's it's a smaller capacity stadium because it's Fenway Park. It's
Right.
the original, but that place is a madhouse
So
during the
sick.
playoffs because it's way cheaper to get in. Obviously, there's a reason I got to go. And then everyone's all as Tom Brady would say, all lubed up, as what I mean, like everyone's ready to go. So. And that's why, like, TD Garden can be like that. I swear to God, during the regular season, TD Garden, you'll watch a random game like during the middle of the year in Celtics games most of the time.
Jazz game. I was at the Jazz game this year without Tatum, and it was it was crazy.
It gets so loud. And on that point, like, yeah, I definitely feel like you can notice the difference as it goes on and tickets start to get more expensive. But the finals, when Peyton Pritchard hit that half court shot, I don't know if it's ever been louder in that building, like, in the history of it.
But the thing is, I think what did it last year was also how like easy it all felt. Like it wasn't like 2022. When 2022 was I battle to get out. This is kind of just like last year and this year both. We're kind of just like it's ours for the taking,
you expect it. 2022, I was like the game 6
living
against
and dying on every game.
Dude, give it by every shot. Give it game 6 against the Bucks when they were down 3-2.
Do you remember the Jimmy Butler? I always forget about this. The Jimmy Butler 3 attempt in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals.
Doinked off
I like vividly remember that shot hanging in midair.
Celtics have given us so many moments like that. It's like since the years then when Tatum was drafted, even like a couple of years before with Isaiah Thomas, but mostly in the years since Tatum's been drafted.
Basically since I've been watching.
Yeah, like Brown, Tatum. They've played how many games were that's what the point that Gresh was making. Like we have so much playoff experience already. And these guys, if you go by like what a prime is, 27 to 31, they're just entering their prime. Jason Tatum just turned 27. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're good. They have so much experience. They're only going to continue to play more playoff games. That's why I'm going to, I trust them 10 times out of 10.
So what do you feeling going into this Magic series? I know we're both kind of like there's no one who could take us down, but
I think they're good defensively. They're going to be, it's a good first test is my opinion. Like I've done more looking into the Magic since, we have them in the first round.
Yeah, for me, that's what I was starting with. Like I haven't kept up on them as much.
Yeah, they're good. They're a solid defensive team.
Banchero.
Banchero's really good.
Yeah.
But again, good. Just to me, it's like a good first test. Like if you can, good first start to the playoffs, get yourself ready for the next round. Hopefully, is what you expect. But I don't think they should be able to put up 100 points on us on more than one occasion. Like that's just how I feel.
There was a part of me that had that like sneaking, like, what if this is another Panthers situation?
Yeah, that always happens.
But yeah, and that there's a big difference between hockey and basketball.
And I just have so much faith in the Celtics. Like after after last year, and I love Joe Mazzulla as a coach. I think Jason Tatum is playing like a top 2 player on the planet. I'm telling you, man, go out there and watch his like highlights from the season. Unbelievable. Even Derek White, dude, his highlights from the season, but Derek White has been like arguably like a top 25 player in the entire league. He's unbelievable. Yeah. And Jaylen Brown, you obviously want him to be healthy, but even when he's not out there, Tatum is capable of.
And then like Gresh said, Porzingis.
Yeah, you need KP's great. You need him. Like you need him to win, in my opinion. But Tatum, he is like what Gresh said. He is what everyone says he is. When it comes to how good of a player, just watch him play basketball. He is as good as everyone says he is. That's why I hate the crap about like, oh, not clutch. Like, he needs to win a finals MVP, all that crap. It's like, dude, he doesn't need to be validated for anything. He's an NBA champion and he's one of the best players in the league.
He passed Larry Bird.
He's for the most 25 points per game seasons in a row, which is like, in my opinion, he's going to be top 2 when it's all said and done. I think or top 3 when it's all said and done. It's probably going to end up being Larry, Russell, and Tatum. That's what I think is how it's going to end up going down.
Is he already at that?
He's already in the top.
I think he's
6 top. He's already that. I mean, there's some great Celtics. It's hard to take. We also, again, it brings back to the era thing. You can't take away from a lot of those early Celtics because they were that good. Like, in my opinion, bro, someone like Robert Parrish. I'm not saying I think Tatum's already a better Celtic, even though Parrish has 3 rings, but Robert Parrish could play in any era, right? So I don't disrespect the guys of that time. That's why Larry Bird will always be as great as he's known to be, because go watch the tape. Like, he was that good. But even guys like, Havlicek was a great player in the 70s. He was a fantastic player. Dave Cowan's fantastic player. Obviously, Bill Russell, Casey Jones. There's a
Bob Cousy.
Yeah, Bob Cousy. Like we all know there's a million great Celtics, but with the era that this is in, how much tougher it is to win a championship, like, I think Tatum's going to end up being in that stratosphere. Like, Russell will always be legendary because of 11 rings, but we know what the time was. There wasn't that many teams. Like, obviously, it doesn't take away from his greatness. But
I'm sick of the whole, like, is Tatum better than Brown? Like, I've heard some people.
I also just don't care about that. Like,
me too. Like, why are we pitting them against each other? We have both.
They're on.
Who cares?
We're blessed. We have both of these players on our team.
I know.
But even then, if you want the question answered, we know who the better player is. Like, it's Jason Tatum. But
like, who cares?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I've heard that so many times the last few weeks. Like, I think Brown's better than Tatum. Stop. Like, just stop. We have both. Like, why are we creating this?
It's the best starting 5 in the NBA. When they're healthy, there's no, like, because even then, we forgot to talk about, like, Drew Holiday. You still have Drew Holiday on your team, man.
Horford, even. Dude, Sam Hauser scored 33 when I went.
He is a great, like, 3.3 and D type of guy. He's actually really solid on defense too. Like,
even Cornette has his moments.
Dude. He's been great this year. He's been like, no, not even to have his moments. Like, he has been a good player the entire year. Him and Tatum in the pick and roll is lethal for some reason. I'm telling you, go look at some of his highlights, dude. He's catching lobs off the pick and roll from Tatum. It's like, that's Luke Cornette out there. Looks like a janitor.
Yeah, that I remember. I went to the Jazz game, and I was annoyed because no Tatum, and I wanted to see Tatum, even though I was being like whiny about it, despite the fact that I've seen Tatum every other time and talked to him. So I was being kind of spoiled, but it turned out to be like a bench party. It was crazy. Hauser had 33. I think he set the record for most threes in a quarter in Celtics history. He had like 7 threes in one quarter. Pritchard was actually quieter. It was Hauser and White that just went off.
You know what's crazy? Derek White owns the record for most threes in a season by a Celtic. Like, is that not insane?
That is insane.
That was this season that he set that. And you think about, like, I was talking about this with someone before. I always think about Isaiah Thomas and how many threes he scored in those years with the Celtics. Like, it felt like he was always dropping the 3 ball, but the game has just changed so much, and the Celtics play such a 3-point heavy style of offense. It's not that surprising that
they have the most threes in NBA history in 1 year, which they beat out
Golden State.
It was Golden State 22-23.
Yeah.
And then behind that was 23-24 Celtics. Then I think it's 17-18 Rockets, and then 22-23 Celtics.
Yeah, because that's Missoula ball.
Yeah.
But I love this time of the year, especially when the Celtics are this good. Like, there's a lot of teams that I go back and forth about this all the time, and being such a Boston sports fan, I think about, like, what team does the city have the most amount of pride for, like, that everybody loves no matter what? I think it's probably the Red Sox. When the Red Sox are good, there's nothing like that in Boston, but Celtics is right up there, man. You know what I mean? Like, people love the Celtics. It's such a storied tradition.
Oh yeah.
Have you been watching the Celtics City documentary?
I have not.
You need to watch it.
It
is phenomenal. So good. You learn a ton about the Celtics. Like, just stuff that I didn't even know, or going into more detail about stuff. It's just, what a historic franchise. That's why, in a way, dude, bring me LA. Like, I would love to see LA in the finals. LeBron,
we'd walk him up.
I agree. I think we'd beat them, but I would love it. Like,
it would be awesome.
Oh my god, that would be cinema, dude.
If they beat us,
that wouldn't be fun. You would. Oh my god.
But I don't know.
I forget who it was, but someone said to me yesterday, I'm blanking on who I was talking to, but I was talking about wanting the Lakers in the finals, and they were like, I'd be rooting for the Lakers. I was like, what?
Oh, a Celtics fan?
No, I don't
Probably
remember.
Not. That's why I was like, there's no way. But yeah, I would love that, because I'd feel comfortable. LeBron's he's past it. He's on his final years now.
Still unbelievable.
He is still unbelievable, but this was his first season in 20 years where he didn't average, I want to say 25,
which is
crazy.
I was gonna say, that is an absurd statement.
That is,
like, that is ridiculous.
That is. No, LeBron will be a problem, but that's your biggest problems, and it's
And then Luca, bro, but just put JB on him again.
No, it's
just put JB on him again. I'm fine.
yeah.
I just think that would be awesome because everyone love. Like, I want to hear the beat LA chants. I love that
That'd be
so much,
so
dude.
awesome.
You need the like rivalries like that. You
that
need those
parade
to
would
be
go
alive.
Crazy.
Yep. That's why I was talking. I saw somebody at Subway the other day wearing a Montreal Canadiens hat, and I was like Habs fan? Like, why are you a Habs fan? He was just like explaining the reason. And then we were talking about how like, yeah, the Bruins suck and the Habs aren't that good either, and nobody really cares about the rivalry right now because you know what I mean? It's just dead. So it nobody cares about it when both teams suck. But that was the rivalry. I was thinking about this too the other day. That's the rivalry when I was a kid that I had the most amount of hate for. Like,
What, the Canadians?
I hated the Canadians when I was young, dude. Oh my God. Because they broke my heart in 2014. Yeah. PK Subban broke my heart in double overtime. Hated them. And now it's the Jets, probably. Like, I hate the Jets. But
I can't hate them. I just can't because like they don't do anything. Like, you know what I mean? It's hard for me to hate them. Out of the 3 AFC East teams, I hate them the least because they've done the least to us.
I think. Well,
I don't like them.
No, I think about the Spygate crap and how much they got us in trouble, like all that, and the Belichick and the Parcells thing. Like, that's what I go back to. I just hate the Jets.
Beat the crap out of them every
And that's
year.
why, like, I know Patriots fans who will name the Giants. I'm like, yo, they're not they beat us twice, man. You can hate them, but there's not like a rivalry there. They beat you twice in the Super Bowl, so like that's how I always feel. I hate
the Bills and Dolphins more.
The other thing is, I don't hate the Bills because for 20 years we literally they were a doormat. Like, literally, do you know what Brady's record is in his career?
33-3.
That is insane.
Yep,
to lose 3 times to a team in your career.
But look at
now
the last 5
it's bad, but we deserve it. Like, I'm not that mad about it. Obviously, I am mad about it.
Yeah, but why would I be mad at the Jets though if I'm not mad at the Bills?
Fair
you know
enough.
what I mean?
Yeah,
like, if we deserve that from the Bills.
What am I talking about? I hate the Yankees the most. What am I sorry, I'm totally lying. I hate the Yankees the most.
You know who I used to hate the most? This is a really goofy one. They're my 2 least favorite teams in sports. If you asked me this 9 years ago, I would have told you my 2 least favorite teams in all of sports were the Washington Nationals and the Kansas City Royals.
Well, the Royals because they beat
Yes.
the Mets, but the Nationals, what did they have to do with anything?
The Nationals used to beat the crap out of us. There was a period of time, it was like 2012 to 2017, where they just owned us, took our lunch money, and kept winning the division. I hated them.
That's so.
It's when they had like Strauss, and then they kept getting bounced first round. But I used to hate them. I hated the Nationals. They used to just dominate.
Yeah, and then they won that random World Series in 2019.
Yeah, that's after their peak. They could have won the World Series a few times over.
Yeah, because that was
a nasty team.
Yeah, dude, didn't they have a negative record at the All-Star break, and they ended up
19-31 at one point. Yeah,
that's insane, dude. That's
which
so crazy.
the Mets were 19-31 on the exact same day last year.
Yeah.
But the Nats, dude, that was like the Steven Strasburg, Max Scherzer, Harper, obviously, Zimmerman, Rendon when he gave a crap.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, they had Trey Turner. I always forget that Trey Turner. They had Trey Turner. They had Soto for the end of that run. They had some names, dude.
Yeah.
Ian Desmond was good for them.
Trey Turner. Oh my God. I feel like I haven't heard. Why haven't I not heard that? He was good last year though, right?
Yeah. But he didn't. I just keep forgetting he was in Washington. Yeah. I keep forgetting he was in LA too.
Yeah. Where is he? Is he still on?
He's in Philly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I hated the Nationals, dude, more than anything. It was really goofy in retrospect because now they just suck. So it's like,
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's gotta be the Braves.
Yeah. Well, I kind of like the Braves. I don't like anyone. I decided I'm not wearing my White Sox hat anymore
That's
at least
really
for now
funny.
because someone else said to me yesterday, I was like, we play the White Sox again next week, right? Like, you don't wear that. So I was like, all right.
I can't believe they took that series. What went wrong there?
Pitching. That literally the game against, oh my God, they scored 16 runs on us or something, and Tanner Houck I think he gave up like, I forget what his earned runs was, but It was like 9 or something. It was terrible.
I saw he gave up 44 fantasy points.
Yeah, he has been. Well, he was really bad.
Oh, also, I remember the Ohtani thing I was going to say earlier. The Cubs beat the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium 16-0. I want to say this was last week. The first video under like the MLB highlights of it was Ohtani got a single at one point. And then after that, it's like the 16 runs the Cubs got.
Yeah.
So goofy. But yeah, it's early baseball. We got the playoffs coming up. It sucks that we have no Bruins playoffs, dude.
Yeah. I mean, after the last couple experiences, I don't think I need it. I'd feel the
That
same way.
Leaf series was cool though.
Yeah, it's
year.
always nice beating the Leafs.
Yeah.
And that's a given every single time we play them. But the Leafs are really good this year.
Really, I haven't been
Dude,
on
they won
the NHL.
They won the Atlantic Division. They're really good.
I haven't been on the NHL as much this year, which is why it's good that next week we have a special guest who's going to be focused on that. Tim Crane. He's a defenseman on the URI hockey team, and he's been wanting to come in and talk the NHL playoffs. So he can really break things down for us. So you're going to want to see that next week. And if you want to see me sooner, tomorrow, as I mentioned to Gresh at 1, I will be calling on color for URI baseball versus Dayton. And I'll be on with David Okula for that. And then the next day we'll be on ESPN Plus. I'll be doing play-by-play, and Okula will be doing color. That's at noon. Again, if you have Hulu, if you have ESPN Plus, any of those apps will get that game up for you. So tune into that on Sunday. And then, as I just mentioned, Tim Crane here on Fiore Calls Game next Friday. And that is going to do it for us, though. What a show. Andy Gresh.
Great show.
Living up as always.
Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you to CC O'Brien's, as usual, for hosting us. Shout out to Brandon Kahn. Sorry you couldn't make it in today, but we will all be back next week. We'll see you then on Fiore Calls Game.
Touchdown, West Philly!
A chance for the Chargers, and they score!
In the front, Guzzi again!